Hi guys, welcome to Beyond Limitation TV. Last time we spoke about mental health, we explored what mental health means as a definition. We understand that there is a good mental health and a poor mental health. Our mental health, from a medical perspective, is a state of psychology and emotionally well-being that enable a person to function effectively in daily life. Poor mental health is when a person is emotional, psychological, and social well-being is disrupted, making it difficult to cope with everyday life. In this video, we will continue with mental health and look at 2 points. As we can see, I'm not alone. I'm with 3 people, and I would like them to introduce themselves. I will start with the man, of course. It's just one man. Hi, Pastor.
Yes, hello everybody, and I'm Thierry Walker. I'm a pastor, and thank you for inviting me to this program.
Yeah. Thank you, Pastor, and if you can introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Sandra. I have experience working in the health profession, many areas around the health profession. I've been invited to come here today and talk about mental health and some of my experience.
Thank you, Sandra. And we got a lady, a beautiful lady there. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Anne, and I'm a uni student, and I have some knowledge on the way the mind works relating to antisocial behavior.
Okay. Thank you so much. So we are going to start with our first question is, why are we talking about mental health? Pastor, if we can start with you. Why are we talking about mental health? Why mental health?
Well, as you said it there in your definition, of course, mental health being a capacity to cope with daily struggles and challenges in life. And now, if we project it, we look at it, or we assess it on a daily life in this actual society, in every single area, we can see that there is an increasing concern. So nowadays, mental health is not just a single event, but it's actually a global issue. It covers every single area of our daily life, in the workplace, in the families, in every single way you meet some mental health issues. So hence it becomes now a topic that we need to talk about it. And it doesn't matter where you are coming from, whether cultural wise, it covers every single area.
Okay.
Being a public concern now, so we need to address it. We need to explore it and see what and how we can, based on our expertise, experience, help as well our viewers, so that they know how to address it on their daily life.
Thank you so much, Pastor. It's a public concern. That's why we talk about mental health. Sandra, what about you?
Yes, I agree with what the pastor just said. Societies now recognise the rising levels of depression, anxiety, self-harm, even death, and reached a point where they need to do something about this. I think society has reached a point where we're at a crisis in terms of mental health, and particularly with young people. So we can look at what we feel might be contributing towards this breakdown in people's health, and we could look at ways that can prevent people from reaching that point.
Okay, thank you, Sandra. Cassie.
I think it's important to talk about mental health, and why we're talking about it is because it's one thing to know about it, but you have to be able, like Pastor said, to apply it to your life and how to live and improve from it. Because like life is not just about living, it's also about striving. You see what I mean? So it's one thing to just know about it, but it's like, what are you gonna do with that knowledge that you have? How are you going to improve yourself? How are you going to make sure that the quality of life that you're living is a good one? Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And if I can just add on that, one thing that was said, it's very important, the quality of life. Because when it comes to mental health, of course, it affects a human being in 3 areas, which later can really affect the quality of life. Mental health can affect the way you feel, the way you think, and the way you act. With that, of course, your life can easily, anybody's life can easily be destroyed, not even being able to, even to go to work anymore. That's why it's taken seriously, even in the workplace. Anything to do with mental health needs to be addressed. So it's really a big issue that people need to be aware of.
And I think the word freedom, I know I hear people saying, I just want to feel free. If you ask, well, what does freedom mean for you? That would mean I've got options and choices, I feel in control, I've got something to look forward to. So when you're cut off from those options and choices, you do feel trapped.
Yes.
You don't get that sense of freedom.
Thank you so much. So, as you explained, all of you, what we can say, because of the increasing concern and it becoming a global issue, that's why we have to talk about mental health. Pastor, what factor contribute to causing the poor mental health in our young people today?
Well, I would think that we need to place it, of course, the question, to relate it to young people. I would like to go back to what you said, being a global issue. Mental health is, you have to put it in a context, that's how it applies to everybody. And now going back to the question related to the young people in general, for instance, students or any young person. When we look at, because by saying that mental health affects the way you think, the way you act, the way you feel. Now, if we look at the youngster in general, you can see that they are limited in terms of help, in terms of they may have questions. Society is not putting a resource or a mechanism where young people can feel free to come up with questions and things like that. Let me put it in context, for instance, in a family context. For us, immigrants in general, you see, for a young person, for instance, having a shoe that is affecting the way she feels, the way she thinks, there are many limitations that may be due to cultural, that may be due to experiences, that may be due to anything, that she may feel, these things I cannot go and talk to my dad about it, based on the culture. Or this issue, I don't know what to talk to. The very moment she feels trapped there, that she cannot explore any issue that is affecting mental health, a mental health is already being affected. Or she'll be questioning herself, what am I going to do? And the more she questions herself, the more stress increases. And stress is a key word as well related to mental health. So that's, and for young people in general, depending on the context, when they're a student, for instance, the workload, exams, assignment, all those things can increase the level of stress, can put pressure on them. Young people without a job, finishing uni, they can't find a job, that can increase. So for us to understand it well and to address it effectively, we need to put it in the right context and work on that context to see which help can be provided for the young people.
Okay, thank you, Pastor Sandra.
So, following on from the pastor, the issues young people face are very multifaceted. So we might have academic pressures, we may have economic pressures, peer pressures, identity pressures, social media pressures, bullying, there's a long list, which makes it quite complex. Some young people might be affected in one or two areas, while others in every area. But I agree with having the outlet just to express, you know, the amount of stress and confusion in a young person's mind. And young people don't find it easy talking. They need to be in an environment that's not going to judge them. They need to feel that no matter what they say, they're going to be listened and validated, understood, helped and supported. And I think if we go back, I think it's 5 years since we had COVID.
Yes.
Now COVID, you know, increased stress levels in young people, everybody, but young people, they were cut off from education, they were cut off from hanging around with the mates.
Yeah.
They became quite isolated, and they didn't have anyone to talk to. The therapeutic services were overwhelmed, the waiting lists were huge, so it just compounded everything. And people didn't realise just how much they were suffering until, you know, quite a few years down the line, and couldn't understand why they wanted to self-harm or just the way they were feeling. So having that space where they can be given a good listening ear, non-judged, no matter what they say, they're going to get that support. Also at that time we had celebrities coming forward, and I think once celebrities talked about their own mental health, it helped people to think, oh, such a footballer, and it did open doors for them to start speaking, which was a very good thing. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sandra. That's it.
Going based off of what the pastor and Sandra said, I feel like, yes, there are so many different factors that can cause mental health, but I do feel like everyone needs to have a healthy outlet, and realistically, the first place that you should always feel safe in is at home, right? So linking again with what the pastor said, I feel like not only should we focus on talking to the youth, but also talking to parents, so that if the youth have a problem, they can go to their parents, right? Because parents are supposed to be there to listen to their children, to not judge them, to help them build their self-esteem. Do you see what I mean? So that's why I feel like realistically, every single household, obviously it's not the case, and there are broken homes and stuff like that, but ideally it would have been better, I guess, if every single home was a place where children can feel safe to vent how they feel, because if they can do that, then mental health issues wouldn't be such a high, you know? So, yeah.
And also completing, to add to what the civil servant just said there. Just take the example of COVID. We are out of it now, but to some extent, many great jobs has been done. But has it been done 100% actually to go through the process so that to help the society from the impact of that COVID? That's a mental health issues to deal with it. That's why it became a big issue, because it's complicated. And it depends on each case. Some people may come out easily like that, but other people may go through a long-term consequences after that. That's why it's a massive one, even handling it, dealing with it, and having the resources to go through it. It's so complicated. And some people may work, from personal experiences, try to fight it and come out. But other people need help actually, need to sit with people, need to have a listening ear, which is another issue as well. In this stressful society, are they listening ears? It becomes, because even the helpers, there is a word that I forgot. Those who work in the sector, sometimes themselves, when they go through one helping themselves, they got involved in one.
Yes, of course.
That is to show how big these things can be.
Yeah.
And for what the person just said there, how we link it to, like an immigrant community like us, it becomes again another issue there. Because the young people, our children, most of them being born here, you know, they've got that kind of mentality. For us, it may work differently. You know, sometimes we don't even have time to sit and listen to our children. And it's causing more confusion. They say, well, home is supposed to be the first place to feel comfortable talking about anything. But when our children come with us, sometimes say, you want to tell them. You see, so it is in that environment that we are struggling, and that's why the society sees these issues be already being, you know, going up.
I think listening, what I see in a lot of young people when they begin to open up, they may say, I want to say something now, but please don't judge me. Or I'm going to say something now, and you might not like it, or you might think I'm stupid, or, you know, so if you think about their thoughts, you know, are they going to, you know, they're going to feel safe, they're going to trust you to take what they're going to say with all those thoughts. So of course you really do have to take on board. They've told you, before they even tell you the problem, they've told you, don't judge me, don't think of me as this and that and that. And you have to really think about that. You think about your own child coming to you, who you love dearly, you want the best for them. And then it's very easy to put all your worries before you and think, oh, how can I help? But you have to bracket that and say, yes, tell me what it is, how can I help? So we do feel, there are anxieties as a parent, it's just how we use that anxiety, you know, proactively, or we can further suppress the child with our own anxiety. But we do have those anxieties. And the other one about some people are more resilient to others, yes. If children have suffered a lot of trauma in childhood, all those they don't learn to cope as well, and they start to use strategies to adjust creatively. But those strategies, as they get older, may not really take care of them. So it's about being able to get the help to undo all that and understand why they have these avoidances or denials.
And I just want to add something about when youth or children go to their parents and they say, oh, don't judge me, right? That's like a cry for help, because it's saying that, like, if you judge me, then it's kind of like it's over for me, because it's like, because there's so many different kinds of like mental health issues or different things that can stem from. If somebody is being judged from outside, right? Everywhere, every single person is judging them, and they come to somebody who they know that I'm supposed to feel safe with my parents. If they judge me, and it's like, okay, if my own parents can judge me, then there's no saving me. You see what I mean? And then it completely, like, that's like probably like the final straw that probably like destroys their whole self, like sense of self, because it's like, wow, the people that were supposed to love me unconditionally are judging me. So of course the people outside, the people on social media, they're judging me, because if my own parents are judging me, which is why it's important to like talk to parents and let them know that yes, you can give advice, but the way you give advice also has an impact, because when children come to their parents, they don't always tell them everything that's going on. They might just come saying, you know what, I feel kind of sad, or I feel like I'm under pressure, but they won't tell them exactly why. They won't tell them, oh, that I'm getting pressure from social media, right? And then if you add pressure to them, we're saying, oh, well, what's the point of being stressed? This is that. It's like, oh, you're weak because you're doing this, you're weak because you're crying. It's like, you know what, maybe I am weak. And now I can't turn to my parents, I can't turn to anybody else, then they turn to drugs, or they turn to crime, or they turn, you know what I mean? So, yeah.
That's a very important thing that Sandra said there, and that was an amazing that we are seeing. And so, thinking already ahead of a solution, because if we look at the situation from the children, the young people perspectives, so with them coming, okay, they want to explore some issue, and the first thing they say, don't judge me. So which means in their mind, they already have that issue there. That, okay, I'm living in a society where I will be judged. and that's already something. You see, so since it's building in them and they are crying for help, they want because they can't cope anymore. Cope is a key word when it comes to stress, mental health. So we need to look for the coping mechanism. And for them, maybe they've been trying to cope with the pressure and they can't anymore. At the very moment they want to open up, and they, mentally and psychologically, they see already that wall there. And because they are seeking for solution, that's why I said, listen, I'm struggling here, but I'm coming for help. Please don't judge me already. So we need to listen to that inner voice there when it comes to solving it. And it's very important, which unfortunately society try to some extent still try to ignore. Someone may be sitting there, okay, I'm listening, but in reality, they've already got some preconceived ideas. And that's sometimes it's a barrier when it comes to money. That's why they increase the mental health issues, because sometimes we are not addressing the right ways, which is not easy anyway, because this is not something that you can diagnose like go to the lab, do some exercise. It's happening inside, so
It can't be measured.
No.
And that's why people say, are you listening or are you listening to react, right? Because there's listening to what somebody is saying, or are you just listening to react? Are you just listening to basically like argue back? Because those are two different kinds of listening. Listening is hearing somebody and and understanding. When you're listening to react, you're just listening for yourself. You're not listening for that person. So that's why you need to understand the two differences of listening and be able to know what kind of listening I need to provide in a certain situation.
Thank you so much. I can see how you are explaining very,